Welcome to Dwarven Forge Live. This is On the Anvil episode 68?
You're one off, actually.
69?
Yeah.
Hey!
It actually is.
Well, it's a very special episode tonight. We
I didn't realize we were officially labeling it On the Anvil, but here we
yeah,
go.
it's Friday night, or whatever night it is.
It's Wednesday night.
I think it's Wednesday night.
Don't worry, we've only been doing this every
Take
Wednesday
two,
night.
let's get started.
We've only been doing this every
I was just
Wednesday
ready
night.
to believe you. I was like, Friday already?
Sure, why not?
Well, it's yes, this is On the Anvil episode 69, the special music episode with special guests.
Episode 69 is a special musical episode.
Yeah, it's our Christmas special here in November. This is the show where we take you behind the scenes here at Dwarven Forge and show you what we're thinking about, what we're working on, a little glimpse into our process, show you everything, warts and tech issues, and knowing what episode number it is and all.
And knowing what day it is?
Yeah, it's just raw and uncut. And we get to hang out with you guys, viewers, and in this case with some awesome guests, and spend an hour, drink a frosty beverage, and talk tabletop and whatnot. So welcome all. What are we doing tonight, Chris? Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm Nate, and we got Chris over in the battle station across the room there. We got Miles is sitting in the front row seat, so we have an audience, a studio audience tonight. And we have we're joined by two special. Wait, I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we can tell us what we're doing tonight. How about that?
Yes.
I don't know. We don't have a format, so we're just before. Jason's like, "What's the format?" The format is we kind of mumble for a minute, and then we just start talking. So what are you
So
guys?
far, very
Ginny,
accurate.
who are you, and why? What's going on? Why are you in the internet right now with us?
That's such a great question. Hi, I'm Ginny D. I am a YouTuber and cosplayer and tabletop gaming nerd person, and I do a lot of stuff, and music is one of them. I make a bunch of YouTube videos with advice for role players and character building in D&D, and I also do a bunch of D&D inspired original characters like NPCs that I do all kinds of crazy videos with that nobody asks for, where I roleplay them and then roleplay myself role-playing with them, and it gets very complicated. And actually, speaking of all of my original characters, my one thing that I'm like plugging everywhere now is that my D&D pinup calendar is available for pre-order right now. Every year I make a calendar where I make these cheesy little pinups of different characters, and this year it's all of my D&D NPCs, and it was a lot of fun to make, and you can get it on my shop at jinnyd.com. That's it. That's all. That's the end.
Do we have a link? Can we throw a link in chat?
JennyD.com is exceptionally easy to spell, so I can absolutely throw that in there.
Look at that. We had it already
Thank
and
you.
everything, so we dropped it right in there.
Perfect.
That's a good gift.
Yeah, this bot command is coming from the Dwarven Forge Live account.
Awesome. And over in which direction is that? Down here? Well, I can't figure out which way it
It's
is
the
on the
same.
screen.
There's always somebody in that same direction every stream.
That's
for a
the
week straight.
Vermont. That's where Vermont's located in when Eli's here. So I don't know where.
It's fair.
Well, you're out in LA, right, Jason?
Yeah, I'm in LA. Yep.
Awesome. So what's going on? Why are you on the internet tonight?
I'm looking at my short bio because I always forget some of the things that I've done. But hi, I'm Jason Charles Miller. I'm a musician and a voice actor. As a voice actor, I've appeared in over 100 animated series, anime, and video games. Highlights include Fire Emblem Heroes, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, Star Trek Online, Attack on Titan, Neverwinter Online, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy XIV, etc.
Can you do these in the voices that you
wait.
did in the thing?
Who?
Wait,
Can you do your list?
sure.
Like do the
Wait,
Drizzt voice when you say like. Yeah.
He's chomping at the bit over there. What did you want to ask me?
Who in 14?
Chris has played every video game that's ever been made. So.
That's not true. I'm working on it.
Children of Eorzea, I am Rauban Aldin.
Are you kidding me? No, Rabban is seriously. Okay, no, this guy loses an arm, and like it's one of the.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's.
I was there for that. Believe me.
Dude, Rabban is so.
Okay, how about one more?
Single-handedly.
And what's really
carrying
funny
Stormblood.
is I texted so Richard Epcar voiced the character that cut off my arm, and so I texted him and I was like, "Dude, you cut off my arm," and he wrote back, "You'll live." I did.
And you did. He only got stronger.
You know.
Well, do one more, so Chris loses his mind. Then you can continue your bio. Sorry, I hijacked your bio.
I'm also Guy in the Super Street Fighter series.
Yeah.
So that meme, profound sadness. That's me. I also sing on a lot of video games. I've had the pleasure of singing on Metal Gear Rising, on Final Fantasy XIV. I've sung 3 songs in the game. The trailer that just came out, that's me singing in there too.
Wait, you sang the Endwalker trailer?
The first 2 minutes of the Endwalker trailer, that's me singing.
Oh, Chris
I'm blowing his
gonna
mind
fall out of his
again!
chair.
No, how did I
mind.
entirely miss this? When
I don't know, man. Like, I'm your guest. You're supposed to do some research, aren't you?
It's your job.
Like, this
I
is the
saw
laziest show ever. Like, hey, just tell us about us.
I like, no, you gotta, like I saw, I was like, oh, cool, Street Fighter. Like oh man, but you did Rising music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I forgot. I have songs in Cyberpunk 2077. I forgot that already.
It was so generous of you guys to let me go first.
But no, but like,
give you time to do a
I
costume
love
change if
Ginny.
you wanted to, like,
I'm a huge fan of Ginny, so this is great. When I first learned about you, I'm impressed with everything that you do. So
Thank you.
I'm glad to be on the show with you.
Renaissance woman.
And then like I guess so, like Dwarven Forge-esque. So as a lifelong Dungeons and Dragons enthusiast, I used to host the show Starter Kit on Geek and Sundry. I've appeared on Critical Role. I wrote the theme song to the first 2 campaigns of Critical Role.
So good.
I hosted a show for Dungeons and Dragons directly called On Tour with Dragons. The last time I was on tour, I visited different gaming shops and sort of did a thing there. And then I'm the DM on the Gax Pack, which is a weekly D&D adventure on the GaryCon channel, GaryCon Live. So that's about it. I was the founder of the band Godhead, and I had the good fortune of having a lot of songs in television shows and movies, and I feel super lucky. So.
Well, we're super lucky to have the 2 of you here to hang out and answer some hard-hitting questions.
It's gonna be a good night.
But first, is there anything we need to tell anybody before we start? Let's do news after.
Please keep your.
Let's do news
hands
after.
and legs.
We were gonna do a regular second half of On the Anvil unboxing Wildlands, the Forest Mega Titan's Tooth Glade, but it's not here. But we'll So I don't think
I'm
we
still
have
waiting for my city pieces.
Yeah, we're shipping.
That shipped years ago.
Yeah.
Wait,
What?
Kickstarter 3.
yeah, wait.
Whoops.
We really ought to.
Oh no, not from the
The new
Kickstarter
one.
though. It's like somebody's gonna send me some.
Oh, okay.
That was my payment for today's appearance.
All right.
I blame Tyler. I don't know. He's
Throwing buckets around. Maybe that's why he's throwing buckets
he's
around.
packing it right now as we
He's packing
speak.
it
That
up
was
right now. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, if he packs it up and gets it to the post office before this episode is over,
he's got
then
time.
Contractually, we're okay.
Yeah, because don't come after us. So don't cut off his arm.
No,
So-
I'm going to get your arm cut off.
Right, so we don't have anything outside. So we're gonna hang out. We're gonna have a giveaway at some point in the middle, and we'll call it night. And I'll go home and have dinner. So my first question for you guys, and you can fight to see who wants to go first. What's your origin story? How did you get into tabletop? Your tabletop origin story. Did it start with cosplay? Did it start with music? Did it start with playing make believe? What was like? How did you end up starting to roll dice?
Do you want to?
Ginny, you want to go?
First, Chase? Oh, sure.
You
Okay.
roll
So, I did a lot of like text-based role-playing stuff when I was younger. I did a lot of like, pro boards, forums, and type
Zork.
things. I actually ran a set of forums for Dragon Riders of Pern roleplay.
Wow.
That had like a a few hundred members. I was like 14-year-old Ginny, just like, Mom, I can't. I have to run a hatching right now. So that was like most of my early roleplay experience. And then I didn't actually get into tabletop games until well, I keep saying recently. I keep saying that I'm new, but it was like 2018. So at this point, it was like 3 years ago. But I had always like known people who played games like D&D, but I had just never really gotten involved. And then I started watching Critical Role, and that was what sort of showed me like why people love those kind of games. And it really inspired me to start looking for people to play in my own games. And I started playing a home game right around then that I'm still in now. And now I'm playing in 2 different home games, and I've tried DMing, and I dove right into it, and now I love it.
And you're playing like relentlessly now, right? And you're putting out weekly videos. Like you're like.
Yeah, my life is pretty much like 90% D&D now. So
Yeah, well, I mean,
it was a quick transition.
Awesome.
You've managed to make like an empire out of it. Like you do a lot of stuff. Like
Thank you. I do a lot of stuff.
And where
some might say too much.
it can't believe there was a Dragon Riders of Pern roleplay group.
There were so many. Like my weir even had sister weirs that were like other role-playing forums that we would sometimes like do events with.
That's
I was wasting my time role playing on Neopets, and there was like an
Oh, I
entire...
definitely did that too.
So, and how did you get into cosplay?
Man.
Where did that weave in?
So I actually, I had always, my mom sewed our Halloween costumes and stuff growing up, and I was interested in sewing, and I did a little hobby sewing when I was younger. And then I started working at the Renaissance Festival towards the end of high school, and that was when I like really met actual geeks, like way beyond the kind of friends that I had at school who were more like, like choir geeks and stuff like that, which is just slightly different
Right.
flavor.
Theater geeks are different from Rennies. Like,
exactly, yeah. So I worked at the Renaissance Festival and met all these people who were like, oh my God, we have to introduce you to this entire world that exists that you didn't know about. And they took me to my first convention, which was a very small science fiction fantasy convention here in Denver called Starfest. And when I realized that you could just like make costumes and wear them whenever you wanted to, I was just like immediately on board. And the very next year at that same con, I wore my first homemade cosplay, and I haven't stopped.
woo! And how many cosplays have you done at this point? Like hundreds? Like, I mean, it's a lot.
I did a count. Yeah, I did a count probably 2 years ago, and it was over 100 then. But I have definitely changed my tack lately. Like I used to be, sometimes there were years when I was making 15, 20 costumes in a year. I'm not doing that anymore. Like this, by now I'm way more focused on the characters that I'm creating, and it's a lot less about like cranking out new garments,
Well, you're churning out a lot of content now. Like...
Yeah. The cosplay is definitely taking more of a backseat to the more storytelling focused stuff that I've been doing lately. Which is just like, that's one of the things I love about my job is I just get to kind of follow my heart and be like, I'm really much more interested in this now, so I'm going to do that instead.
You have to answer to yourself. One of your characters is the CEO, and you have to go talk to CEO Ginny and be like,
Oh yeah, she's mean.
she's got to get these numbers up. What do you do?
She's the one that keeps you off of Twitter.
Yeah, well, that's very kind of her, honestly.
We're definitely going to talk about that. And Jason, how did you get what's your tabletop origin story?
Well, my cousin got me into it when I was like 10, which was great. So he introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons when I was visiting, for the holidays, and we created a character, and I was so excited about this character. And then within 5 minutes of playing, he was naked in the street. Like all his money was stolen and all of his gear was taken by ruffians. So I learned the hard way, the school of hard knocks on the street,
the mean streets.
some weird D&D town and D&D basic.
Yeah, the red box town of doom.
Yeah, exactly. To keep on the borderlands, that era. So and then. I did play a lot of text-based stuff later in MUDs, the multi-user underground dungeons, where it was kind of like World of Warcraft, but all text. And then, I've played every edition of D&D and just really kind of leaned back into it. Probably. I mean, I never really stopped playing, but in Hollywood 10 years ago, you talked about it in hushed tones. It was something that happened in back rooms away from everyone else, and so I love how prominent it has become.
It used to be like a dirty secret kind of for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm so happy
you
to
weren't
be
an
along.
out role player. You were like this hidden, yeah. And now finally, it's like the age of everybody. It's like cool to be a role player.
Now we're on
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
Now we're out in the open, and the sun is burning our skin, but here we are.
I was an out role player in high school, and like actually got a lot of friends that way because they were like I got really into LARPing at age. I started LARPing at 14, before the insurance companies realized that it was a bad idea to like give kids like weapons and let them hit each other, and it started becoming 18, but I got in before like the insurance companies figured it out, and played like all through high school, whatever, and drew a lot of the theater nerds and whatever like around me because they're like, wait, this is like you like put on armor and hit each other in the woods, and like, dude, we're in. This is amazing. There's no parents there. We can just like, and you could stay up for like 48 hours straight. It's like a 16-year-old. It was unbelievable. So I got to like it got me a really good circle of friends by being an out role player, and they're like. There were not a lot of public people willing to say they like role played, much less like wear costumes to school and stuff.
Can you imagine being like, we got to stay up 48 hours at a time? I heard that and like my entire soul cringed.
I don't think I could stay up if I tried for 48 hours straight now.
I can't stay up for 4 to 8 hours.
I literally would stay up. I'd stay up from Friday night till Sunday, and then like just fall asleep for like 20 hours straight. Like it was not maybe the best way to go. Sometimes you sleep for a couple hours. Like there's no monsters at like 6 a.m. Everybody's asleep. So you're like, well, I guess I gotta sleep for a few hours till the monsters wake up. It's lazy monsters. So you guys, you both are musicians, performers, multifaceted, multi-talented folks. What's your? Do you ever use music in D&D in your gaming? And how? And why? And what's the tale? If there's a
I was
tale.
really resistant to it for a long time. I think because, I spent my life as a professional musician, and I felt like performing it at the table was somehow was like inappropriate, I guess.
You're crossing the
but then,
streams. You're private. You're public.
What's that?
You were crossing the streams, like it was like.
Yeah, like don't cross the streams, because here's the thing. Believe it or not, I don't like to play bards when I play D&D because since I'm a professional bard, like I want to escape. We play role-playing games to escape, right? So I want to be a wizard or a rogue or a fighter. I don't want to be a bard. But the hilarious thing is that Satine asked me to be on Sirens of the Realms as a bard.
All bards.
And then I started like singing songs every week on that show. And then I really just leaned into it on the Gax Pack. They encounter my group encounters a different monster or NPC that just happens to break into song. So the Gax Pack now is like a Rankin Bass cartoon, like The Hobbit or The Last Unicorn, where like songs will just randomly start playing, or this hill giant will start singing a song about how he's a hill giant. But then I really leaned into it when
That wasn't leaning into it enough?
No, there was more. There's more. So now what I do is I host a songwriting show every week on the Codename Games Twitch channel. And what
Awesome.
we do is we write a different song live on the air with the viewers about a different character in D&D every week. And so it's a 2-hour show, and believe it or not, there's only been like one time when we didn't finish the song at the end of the 2 hours. We just got it down. We've done 54 episodes now. We have a great audience, and they participate along with us. And then what's really cool is then after we write the song, Codename will often approach me about recording them in the studio and then putting them in the game. So we have 9 songs already in Idle Champions.
It's amazing.
From the songs that we wrote with the audience. It's so cool.
Codename is just the best. Like though Eric and Lauren and that whole crew they're just like they're such amazing folks, and they're just building this unbelievable empire. Like the amount of they're coming after Ginny's empire. They're, the amount of talent, like the amount of streaming that they're kicking out there in this last year and a half is unbelievable. It's awesome to see.
Yeah. So anyway, so sorry, that's the short version, I guess.
Well, what's the long version?
Well, we should let Ginny go.
I think it's so interesting, actually, that I like really strongly related to half of what you said, and then was the opposite of the other half. Because I feel like I also have avoided playing bards, and I actually really want to play bards. I like love bards, and I have had multiple times when I want to play a bard, but I can't because somebody else already picked bard, and it just feels like a lot of bards or whatever. And the only opportunities I have had to play bards, though, I have both times made them poets instead of singers, because I feel like I have this weird thing where I just feel like if I was gonna try and sing as part of D&D, it would just look like I was like showing off, I'm not one of those singers. You know how oh, sorry, my camera focus just like died.
Got it.
It heard show off. It's like,
Don't look at her. Don't look at her. She's so full of herself. No, I have always been like, you know how there are those singers that just like always want to sing around people? Mm-hmm. I'm not one of those kind of singers. I'm not the one that like sings at the grocery store. That makes me feel very uncomfortable and embarrassed. So I like desperately want to sing and want people to hear me sing, but also I'm like very horrified of anyone hearing me singing at the same time. So I think when I play bards, I'm always like, I'm gonna play a bard, and then when it comes down to it, I'm like, and she's gonna write poems. She's just gonna write a lot of poems. It's gonna be fine.
She's a mime.
Yeah, I just have like I feel like a very complicated relationship with like how I want to sing, but I don't want to be that person who wants to sing at the table, and I just feel like I would annoy everyone,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why do you think? What do you guys think about? This was something Chris was bringing up right before the stream of like the association. If you play a bard, you have to sing, or you have to sing at the table, or you have to be super charismatic, even if you're depressed or whatever. How do we get around that, or should we lean into that?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? If you're playing a wizard, we're not expecting you to cast a fireball.
Real magic at the table, go.
Right? So if you're playing a bard, we don't expect you to sing a song. I mean, it's fine. Like, you could even say, they sing a rousing song that inspires you all. And you just describe it. Because boy, if someone's playing a kenku and making kenku sounds for 4 hours, how annoying is that? So it's okay. You can describe it. But if you want to sing and write songs, like go for it. I think like it's really whatever you're comfortable with, and hopefully you're playing around a table that is with friends that you trust, and hopefully they're not expecting that. I mean, the singing at the table, like before streaming, right? I think singing at the D&D table didn't really exist. People would think that you're insane, and you would probably get kicked out of your friend's house. So,
or it was that thing you prepared for as a special. There was an event that was gonna, the king was inviting you to the ball or something, and one of the players is like, "Oh, I'm gonna write this cool song for the thing to impress the NPC or whatever," and like, one time, remember that time Sally sang the song to do the thing, and it was like an event. Like one of the players got all excited to do this thing, and it was this weird special event. Like that happened to me once. Like,
yeah, I mean, you could told the DM in advance, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that question of like what do you actually have to perform at the table and what can you just describe is like sort of a weird thing we've backed ourselves into with. I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, streaming D&D shows have ruined D&D, because I love streaming D&D shows, and that's what got me into D&D. But I do think there's like an element to which like people sometimes have expectations for themselves at their home tables that are influenced by like professional performers, and not everybody's tables are going to be like that. And I think a big part of that is this idea that like the soft skills, I have like a little YouTube short series about this, but the soft skills like intelligence, charisma, wisdom, like those are things that you actually can kind of like perform at the table, but like not everyone is going to be able to do that in the way that they want their D&D character to be able to. Like you should be able to have a charismatic character without like being a charismatic person. Like you should be able to step into the shoes of a charismatic character and not feel like you have to like change who you are or like learn some sort of skill that you don't necessarily have in order to play a game. I stand very firmly in that.
It's there's that weird, somehow the soft skills get blurrier, I think, because it's stuff that we all, everybody has the capability of talking, trying to persuade someone or whatever. So somehow it like, there's the expectation that like, oh, well, you're going to persuade me. But I'm like, but why? I don't have to hit you with the sword, like you say with the fireball. Like, it's...
I actually saw like such a good comment from somebody once on a Reddit thread where they were like, I actually don't like when DMs give people advantage on a roll if they did a good job explaining it or if they were very persuasive, because to them it was like pressure on them as a player to be able to like be super intelligent or be super persuasive, and you can't always match. Like if your character has a 20 intelligence, like
never,
most people are not going to be able to accurately roleplay being a genius, like a literal genius, and you shouldn't have to be in order to be able to like play the game and have your character succeed at the things they're good at.
Well, what I do like rewarding when your players are invested, right? If they do that thing, they be it that really clever line they give to the guard before they do their persuasion roll, or even describing their attack. Like if they go over the top and they're like in this thing and they do this really clever thing, I'll throw them advantage on that thing or give them a bonus because you're like, they're in it, right? You want them to be in it, and that's, I think, to me, it's about rewarding the participation. And if they're throwing more stuff in that fuel into that fire, they're throwing napalm onto this thing, and we're like, okay, all right, let's go with it.
I like that, and I do that too, and I play in games that are like that too, and I enjoy that aspect of like having to be persuasive or having to be creative and stuff. But that comment was like a really eye-opening moment for me where I was like, oh, this is like really showing me that, the thing that I'm always trying to reinforce, which is like every table is different, everybody's looking for a different kind of play, and it's really important that everybody at the table be on the same page and like know what you're expecting out of it, and so that everyone can have fun. And if you're not somebody who has fun having to like feel like you need to be persuasive in order to roll a persuasion check, then it's important that your table be on the same page with that.
And what works at one table might not work at another table, and
well, yeah, and I mean, you could, look, we all have various levels of like what we're comfortable with in general. So you could be a natural introvert and your best friend's been bugging you for 8 weeks to play D&D, and finally you're like, okay, I'll do it. And then you get there and the DM's like, sing for me, you're never going to play again.
I'm not coming back.
So I think, but also, like I said, I believe we play role-playing games to escape to escape our troubles. Let's just put it that way. We play it to escape this whatever suffering we're dealing with. We hope that night, is an escape from all of the troubles that we all have, because everyone's got them. So the last thing you want to do is feel this undue pressure.
Yes.
To then that becomes another problem that you add on to your life. So
you don't want to stress out about coming to the game session because you haven't prepared your song for your bard thing. You're like, it's like,
right. Yeah.
You want to sit down and laugh and share a story, create a story with some friends. Like that's something you should look forward to.
I feel like just sort of like the simple answer, and this is kind of the answer for a lot of D&D questions, is just like, would you have fun singing at the table? Yes? Yeah. Then do it. And if you wouldn't, then don't. Like,
I mean, that should be the driver. Force. That's your driver of all of it, right? Are you going to enjoy it? Is the table going to enjoy it? Let's do it. If not, just get rid of it and go kill the dragon. You could sing and kill the dragon too, but yeah. So I'm curious about your creative process, right? Ginny, you're kicking out, you have to write a new video, multiple videos every week. Jason, you're writing songs live on the air and stuff. Like, what's your creative process like? Is there a process? Is it like, where does all this come from?
Anybody that watches Bardic Inspiration, which is the name of our show, knows that my process is go, 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 go now, make a decision, make a decision. You know, I think that Bardic Inspiration, the show, has actually made me a much better songwriter because I know we only have 2 hours, so that's a limit, and we have to make decisions. We have to go as fast as we can to write these songs, and sometimes you're so precious about a certain part or a certain thing, and I know that I can't. So that has definitely improved my speed songwriting skills. When I'm writing for like my own personal albums or for something totally on my own, I will often self-edit myself into a hole.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't sing that, or I wouldn't do that. But now, you know, it's certainly just opened another thing for me. Often
deadlines.
too.
Deadlines
What's
are
that?
the greatest. Deadlines.
Deadlines, yeah,
Nothing
absolutely.
gets art done better like a deadline. In fact, the only thing that gets art done is a deadline.
Because I believe it was Leonardo da Vinci that said, and this is a paraphrasing, of course, that, you know, art is never done. We just put it down, you know. And but I suppose with a recording or something we film or something that we do, then it is done. But yeah, I mean, you could noodle on a song for the rest of your life before people hear it, and that would be a shame. So
Yeah.
One of
No one
my,
will have heard the damn song.
One of my friends, Satchel, had a mantra that he tried to like live by with his like artistic work, which is done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's something we honestly kind of struggle with the stuff we make at Dwarven Forge sometimes too, is we iterate nonstop. If we didn't have deadlines, I don't know if we would ever actually put
We could
anything out.
prep a Kickstarter for 10 years. If
We
there
could.
wasn't a, like, if we didn't have a deadline and we have to put the thing out, like, we would prep forever. Like, we
Yeah.
need deadlines, and we blow through deadlines on a regular basis. It's really hard to, like, with the creative process, it's hard to manage. How do you manage it, Ginny? Because you're kicking out a lot of content. How do you keep on?
Yeah, I mean, much the same way. Like, I set deadlines and then I just do whatever it takes to meet them, and that often does mean doing something faster and ending it sooner than I would prefer if I had like all of the time in the world. Definitely weekly videos is a lot to handle. I've been doing weekly YouTube videos now for like 3 years, and I've missed, like, I could probably count on one hand the number of weeks that I've missed, and a lot of weeks that's because I'm like up at 1 a.m. on Tuesday night, or technically Wednesday morning, like just getting it done for the next day. And that has been like, that's been a great learning experience for me, because I definitely think that creatives in general, we struggle with finishing stuff.
Yes.
We, like, most of us have a million ideas and we have really high hopes, and a lot of us are perfectionists, and we just like, we want the thing to come out the way we're imagining it, and it's almost impossible to do that. So
Fully impossible.
it really is.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And that's why I think like the fact that I've been doing this now as a full-time job since 2017, so I guess 4 years now, is like, that's really made a huge impact on my creative process, because it has stopped being, I'm going to follow my inspiration and I'm going to wait for lightning to strike and I'm just going to like let it flow out of me. And it started being like, no, creative work is work. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do the thing that I need to do. And that can be really, really hard to pull off. But I think it's a good skill set to learn, and then sometimes choose to abandon when it's necessary.
You need to set your rules so that every now and then you can break them.
Yeah, exactly.
There was some writer who said, I only write when inspiration strikes, but luckily inspiration strikes every morning at 9 a.m. They just sit down and just start writing. They have to.
My writing professor in school, he told me, yeah, inspiration might not be striking you right now, but like when it does strike, you better already have a pencil in your hand or you're going to miss it.
Better
so
be writing.
I always really liked that. It was like, be writing all the time. And then when you do feel inspired, you'll already be writing and it'll be so much more effective.
Do you have a routine? Do you have a schedule? Like, you're like, all right, it's, 10 o'clock on Tuesday, I have to start writing because I got to get a thing done by 1 a.m. or what?
I mean, like, I start every morning around 8, but then like how the day goes really determines when I end, because there are days when I get done by 5 and then I like relax. Not most days, there are a lot of days when I work from the minute that I wake up until the minute that I go to bed, which is something that I am like really, really trying to change.
Yeah, those boundaries. That's the hard part, right? For working for yourself and whatever. There's no like, you don't leave the office and go home, whatever. Like you.
Yeah, this is our office.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
you know, our
and that's-
minds are our office. I
Right?
mean, for me, like I never stop thinking about work ever. I don't know what
always
weekends
processing.
are.
The machine's always going. It's just
In
like.
fact, I hate weekends because that's when there are things that can't get done because of other people. So, you know, like the best thing for me would be to like take a Wednesday off, and go do something fun, because then a lot of people aren't. You know, it's places tend to be a little bit more vacant then. But the process for me is often I seem to have 4 or 5 projects overlapping, so I'll have deadlines for certain projects that are usually for other companies, and then my own stuff sort of gets put on the wayside when I'm doing something for a deadline for another company. But I always try to you know, keep my own projects going as best I can. But if I'm getting distracted by something else, it tends to be usually something good, you know. So it's all under that realm of entertaining people, you know. Whether it's, well, I can't finish that song for me today because I have to go because I have a voiceover session. Well, that's not a bad thing.
And you're getting paid for that session, ostensibly, right?
Right.
So,
You know, so I feel so fortunate and lucky that is my life. And the cool thing is that every day is different. So I tend to not be bored because there's always either a deadline on the horizon or something props up last minute, and you just find a way to make it work. My biggest problem, I think, is I hardly say no to anything, and I have to get better at that. But at the same time, we have this gig economy mentality as people in entertainment, where the next gig could be your last, right?
if I say no, they're not going to call me back.
Yeah.
Right. If I say no, they're just going to call the next person, and then
Yep.
that next person is going to be their go-to guy.
Yep, the next person's better than me, and they're going to get the thing, and then over to you. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
value always feels like it hinges on us always being everything for everybody
Yeah.
every time.
Oh yeah, I'm a notorious people pleaser. Like
Yeah.
to way like it sucks. You know what I mean? Because then I'm like, who am I, right?
Well, this is a good segue into something Ginny was talking about before the stream, and sort of general is trying to figure out how to set boundaries for yourself, right? Of of learning to have the profound no, say no to one thing a day, or set a limit to going on Twitter a certain amount of time a day or whatever. Like, you want to tell us your Twitter tale?
Oh,
So
sure.
we
I
kick
was just
this
gonna
one
say
off?
everything you were just saying, Jason, was just like speaking to my soul. It was like you were speaking out of my own brain. Like I just feel all of that so much. The Twitter tale that led to this was I mentioned that I needed to download the Twitter app on my phone in order to retweet the announcement for this stream, because I have set up parental controls for myself on my computer, so I can only access Twitter for 15 minutes a day, and then it will lock me out until tomorrow, which is absolutely necessary, or I will drive myself insane on Twitter. I will just make myself miserable. And that's just like, that's one of those boundaries that I do feel like it's really important to learn to set for yourself if you can recognize that something is hard.
How'd you figure out when you're like, you know what, I need to, like, this is not being productive for my brain, like I need to set some, how did you figure out you needed to set some guidelines, and how did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, for a really long time, I knew Twitter was making me miserable, and it wasn't always Twitter. There were other social platforms before that. It's always whatever social platform I'm on the most, that's the one that upsets me. And I was on Twitter so much, and I knew it was making me upset, but I kept defending it to myself by saying, well, this is my job. I'm an online content creator. I have to be online. And I think for a really long time, I sort of used that as an excuse to just like torture myself by telling myself that this was work and I just had to deal with it.
This is your job.
And
This is your job. This is your
yeah,
job.
it took a really long time to realize like, hey, this like misery that I'm causing myself by being on Twitter all the time is not benefiting my business. Like it's in the end, not only is it like not my job, but it's maybe even making my job harder because it's like putting me in a bad mood. It's like making me feel oppositional and like aggressive. And occasionally I was like snapping at people that didn't deserve it because I had just gotten so worked up by like all of this bad Twitter energy. And that was definitely a point when I was like, okay, I clearly can't rely on my own self-control to keep me off of Twitter. So like, what is the next step? And honestly, deleting the Twitter app, I have the Twitter website, like parental controls blocked on my phone. So I can't like go through the Google app because I've done that. Like I really have to work hard to stop myself from getting all these places. But if I can put those boundaries in place so that I don't have to exercise constant self-control, then I don't have to use that energy on just trying to like stop myself from torturing myself. I remember reading something, or I think it was in a ContraPoints video where she talked about how reading something like YouTube comments or something that you know is going to hurt your feelings and upset you, reading it on purpose, it's like a form of self-harm. And that like really stuck with me because I feel like there's a lot of social media that I have traditionally used in that way. And I do not want that.
Don't go to the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the thing that I find weird, and I don't know if this happens to you, Ginny, is like people will comment, will do a very specific comment on a YouTube video that I posted like 9 years ago, as if I had just posted it. It's like, thanks for the advice, dude. Like, take a time machine, because like, did you read the date on this video?
There have been some like great conversations going on, I think, about how YouTube in particular sort of presents everything as existing in the current moment in a way that doesn't allow any creators on YouTube to like experience a linear growth arc, because there's always going to be this older stuff that's available that people can see, and then they're watching it in the current moment. So that's the context they have. This came up a lot when Jenna Marbles quit YouTube, because she had all of these older videos that were like, she had some problematic older videos, and she had like grown a lot as a person, and people just, it doesn't matter the way that YouTube works because it's all now. All of it's now.
Right. Oh man. Yeah.
Do you have any tricks for setting boundaries for yourself, Jason, and trying to find work-life balance, or I don't know, getting the stuff out of your head that's not so productive there?
I wish I had like a advice for that, but I really don't, because that's one of my biggest flaws, is I'm always thinking about work or thinking about stuff. So I know that I am a worrier, and that but sometimes that motivates me, I suppose. But I see. I constantly see the hand of time, like, coming at me, and so I work harder than ever, knowing, that, like I said, the next gig could be your last. So you just do your best and hope that your reputation continues to gleam you more work, but there's no guarantees. So you're constantly trying to come up with new ways to create more things. But I think like what Ginny does is brilliant, because when you create your own content and don't rely on anybody else besides the people themselves that are fans of your work, when you don't rely on a company or a corporation. I mean, I come from, my very first record deal I got in 1995, right? And so that was back when like, the internet was just starting, and if you were a band, the only way you could make it was if you got signed. Man, we got to get signed.
This is it.
And so I lived through that whole era of like, being signed to all these different record labels, and then realizing that, wait a minute, especially now in these days, I don't need to be signed to a record label at all. I just started my own record label for my own music and can do whatever I want, because and in a lot of ways can do it better, because I understand my audience better than whichever label I was signed to, ever could.
Yeah.
Funny little side note is I have the dubious distinction of I was never signed to Capitol Records, but I was dropped by Capitol Records.
How is that even?
How?
So the way that worked was, so Godhead was signed to Posthuman Records, which was a subsidiary of Priority Records, which was a subsidiary of EMI. So EMI decided to merge Priority into Capitol. So we went from being signed to a label where we knew everybody, we knew our product manager, we knew our promotions guy, we knew the president, we knew everyone, to all of a sudden now we're on Capitol Records with a brand new staff. Nobody knows who we are. No one signed us. No one wanted us. So then we just got dropped. So that's kind of fun. I think about that every time I pass the Capitol Records building when I'm in Hollywood.
Isn't that what you imagined doing art for a living being like when you were a kid? All these suits.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. And you just always think, oh, it's not going to happen to us. Well,
Yeah.
that hand comes for everyone sooner or later. So the more control you have, the better of your own
creation.
destiny.
It's scary. I definitely I relate to the fear just because, even though it's different it is different a little bit when you're being supported by a large number of people, but at the same time, you're still so reliant on do those people still care about what I'm doing? Do they still like it? Is the new stuff that I'm doing going to be good enough for them? And even though it's not quite as simple as a yes, we want to work with you, no we don't kind of thing, it is from one specific authority figure, there's still definitely this ebb and flow of participation from a large audience that can be really anxiety inducing, because if I release a few videos in a row that are getting under average views, I'm this is it, YouTube's done. Yeah.
You're hired by a mob.
I totally agree.
You're
right, yeah.
You don't get hired by one client, you're getting hired by this mob. So
right.
It's
and then you get these very scary moments where 10% of the mob just ditches you, and you're
are they all going?
What about the rest? Yeah.
Do they have torches? Are we is it gonna happen? We should do a giveaway.
Yeah.
I realize it's
let's give something
who
away.
wants to give a word to the wise, or to the viewers here? We have
They're wise.
They are wise. Yeah. Anybody? A secret word? Well, it's not so secret because you're going to say it.
Jason, do you have
Password
something?
is. Yeah, I think Bard. That's the word.
Bard.
Bard.
Oh yeah, that's
B-A-R-D is.
Apropos.
That works.
B-A-R-D. All right, this giveaway is for $50 of Pledge Manager credit for Reliquaries, our current Kickstarter that's running right now. If you want to enter, just type Bard. It's not case sensitive. It can be in a sentence. If you want it to be in a sentence, you are not disqualified if you type it multiple times. But please don't spam it over and over again, just out of
consideration.
Just out of consideration for everyone else here.
You can put it in a sentence.
Wait, if I type Bard, can I get the CDs?
You can, yeah. You guys are. I assume it's okay if you.
No, I don't. It's
Not
fine.
if Ginny put the parental controls on. It might
That's-
be. You
that's
might have been cut off already. You might.
Oh, sorry, it's too late for me to go to Twitch. It's
Friends and
bedtime.
family of Dwarven Forge are not eligible for this contest.
Yeah.
No, everybody the world over is eligible.
Yeah, everyone. It's
so-
just credit.
What do you guys have any advice on DM preparation? What do you? Is there anything you do to prepare for a game that you want to share with the audience? 'Cause I am always searching for better ways to prepare for a game because I
Well-
never feel prepared.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, whatever you prepare, your players are not going to do.
Now they're gonna
first of
chase
all.
the damn squirrel every time.
So, be have a lot of NPC names ready that you weren't thinking that they were going to meet, and
And
have a
remember
lot-
them.
Yeah, just have them kind of written down on the side or something. Just expect the unexpected. How trope is that? But that's what's going to happen. I mean, I remember in one campaign, as a player, we had, it was a campaign that I was a player in, and one of our other fellow players played a character named Loki Stumbleduck. And
Stumbleduck?
Loki
That's great.
Stumbleduck hated doing anything that was prepared. So the whole campaign had us leading to this cavern, everything, and I knew that our DM had prepared for days to lead us into this cavern. And then we get to the edge of the cavern, and Loki Stumbleduck says,
Nope.
"Nah, I don't want to go in there." And then we spent the whole rest of the night chasing him. So what are you gonna do? That's my advice. Just be prepared for anything.
And don't play with Loki Stumbleduck.
Don't play with Loki Stumbleduck.
Yeah, I've never played with that
We
guy.
clip that. I'm gonna send that to him.
Yeah.
Was it motivated by anything, or was it just purely like this will mess with the DM?
He was a human troll, and he was in our party, and he did
That's
that
just-
every week.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know why I don't know why we tolerated it for so long.
Ginny, do you have any prep advice? You said you've been dabbling with DMing.
Yeah, so I think one of the mistakes I made really early on was that I read a lot of DM advice, and one of the ones that I kept seeing over and over again was basically like don't prepare too much because like your players will do other things. And so I I think ended up under preparing a lot because I was like, wow, what's the point? Nobody will do what I want anyway. And then I just ended up feeling like this constant sort of state of like grasping panic during sessions because I had prepared like nothing, and I thought that I was going to be able to improvise a lot more effectively than I actually was. So I think like for me at least, I internalized all this advice that was like, look, you're just going to end up improvising a lot, so like don't stress yourself out too much with prep. And for me, I think that's good advice for people who like have done a lot of prep and are now needing to learn to scale back. But in my case, what I think would have been the most useful advice, like very early on, was not necessarily to prepare like this is the encounter or this is the NPC that you're going to talk to, but instead to just have like a better broad grasp of like what's going on in the place and
Yes.
with the people that are in the place at any given time. Because I would have moments where my players would do something I wasn't expecting. And in my brain, it would be like, okay, here's the town that we're in. And then around it is just like empty black space. Like
A white sheet of
There's
paper.
nothing happening.
Surrounds the
Yes.
town. There's the fog
And
of war is
improvising.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
like a
it's
weird Twilight Zone episode.
Exactly, like fog of war that even the DM can't see through. And I think like that was such a terrible place to improvise from, like just from zero live in front of all of these people. So
You set the parental controls to around the city, so there was nothing outside. You weren't
set
allowed to look
boundaries,
outside
but
the city.
not in your D&D world because then they will bite you. No, I think I saw a graphic the other day that was like, what kind of game are your players playing? And it was like a linear path or like a branching linear path. Or there was one that was like, your players are like a dot and they're in like a larger circle. And the idea, I can't remember what they
Sandbox?
called
That
it.
was not Sandbox. Yeah, I saw the same thing. It was like a really cool graphic. It's
Yeah.
not Bumblebee. Bumblebee was
Bumblebee was when your players are off doing whatever the heck they want.
and the meanwhile the BBG is like moving towards his goal the entire time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it
what
was
was that
something
one
like
called?
that, like Sandbox. It was like there's a thing that it was like Snow Globe, I think.
Ooh.
It was something like that. Yeah, and the
little
basic
world in the snow globe.
idea.
You can just go wherever you want in the snow globe.
Yeah, and I really liked that. I like the idea of if your world is doing its own thing and you know what's going on in the world, then wherever your players go, like something's happening there. And you don't need to know the details. You don't need to be like, yes, little Susie is like going to her first day of classes today or whatever. But if you're like, yeah, there's a festival happening in the next town over, and this town has spent the last few weeks preparing all of the food for it. Like if you understand larger overarching things like that, it's way easier to improvise within that space because you have guidelines.
Love it.
Or theoretically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all theoretical until you sit down at the table that it's, all bets are off.
Should try to find that post and save it. That was a
Expect
really
the
helpful graphic.
unexpected.
Yeah, it's great.
Let's draw this giveaway. Shall we give something away?
Yeah, let's give away this pledge manager credit.
Who wants to beatbox a drum roll for
Actually,
us?
for the people who don't know, do you want to show them reliquaries real quick while we roll it, just so they can see what
Yes.
what the stuff actually
Let's
is?
see it.
Yeah,
do
we have a close-up cam.
We do.
We got I have just
It's a little overexposed.
absolute random. Oh yeah, I can't see the screen. And I don't actually have any dice in any of them. I'm so ill.
Miles, grab
here
some
we go.
dice.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, but
right.
we've got like a tray. We've got hundreds of. We have a whole.
Let's roll this. Oh yeah, I'm gonna give you guys 30 more seconds. Type in Bard if you haven't. If you're new to the stream, we're giving away $50 in Pledge Manager credit to get fees in our Kickstarter, which would get you. It's
we have
basically the amount to
made,
get 2 of these or some of the heroes or one of the heroes.
We've made hand sculpted, hand painted dice thrones. Little cool places to put your dice. A little underlit, aren't they? Yeah.
Pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah.
And there's you want to bring? Is there a 7-die array that's assembled over there? Eldritch is pretty close, right? You can bring that guy over. Oh, and I was messing with putting different things in these just to like keep people on their toes. Because who wants to use the
Use it
thing
for a
the
couple
way
things
it's
because
designed?
they're all also designed to like look like terrain that you can use on the table to the objectives and stuff.
Bum, bum, bum.
So
Look at that.
cool.
Now what do we got?
Cool, so
we
they
get-
double as terrain, kind of.
Yeah, you can use them as objectives. You can just decorate up your dungeon with them. You can put your favorite dice in them. You can just put them on your mantle, assuming you've got a mantle, because everybody has mantles, right?
Those are-
These days
That's
it's
a big assumption there, buddy.
in LA,
No.
mantles are a big deal, right?
We
They're,
literally to get shots of these on fireplaces, we drove out to Pennsylvania because one of our sculptors lives out there and has 3 fireplaces. And
'Cause,
none of us in New York have a fireplace.
we have a lot of fireplaces in New York. It's the
Yeah.
thing. So anyway, put it on your mantle, and or put it on your table.
Yeah.
And these are the Ynir dice, the Eldritch Portal.
We also we have some custom dice for each set made by Die Hard Dice that were also.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
Selling
if
the
those were
Kickstarter.
Die Hard dice, but then I didn't want to ask and then be wrong. And
These ones right here.
aren't.
I'm glad that those are Die Hard dice.
No, these
No.
ones are by Ynir, but the other ones, these are Die Hard,
Ynir.
and Die Hard did custom dice for us, which of course are in the other room.
you see
Actually, you
that
want to grab? Yeah, they're on the build table. I'll put the custom ones for this in there because we absolutely adore Die Hard dice. Like those folks are just super talented artists and just like the kindest people in the world, and I love working with them. This is the 3rd time we've collaborated with them.
While he grabs
and
those dice, I'll roll this real quick.
we've gotten to work with so many cool small dice creators on this too. I mean, Die Hard is a small dice creator. They're not a very big
What, a
company at all.
3-person team.
Husband and wife team has started. No, they've got, I don't know, they have like 12 people working there now or something, or I don't know. They had to.
they're not part of the big dice conglomerate.
Yeah,
I mean,
big
are
dice.
there
They're fighting
dice
against big
companies
dice.
that are huge.
Yeah, their big lobby, but the dice
Yeah,
lobby.
big
It's
dice lobby.
Fighting
Yeah.
this
Changing
big
the laws
polyhedral.
right now in Congress.
yeah, they're
Beware of
pushing
big
hard.
dice.
All right, I'm gonna roll this giveaway real quick.
Proposition D20. It's really.
Hey, see Gatrell one.
Woo. This is the one they made for the Eldritch. This purple Dracona dragon scale.
So cool.
Is amazing.
Yeah.
And Ginny, you did a really cool cool video with these. What was it, last week?
Yeah, I got to. I've done this little short series on YouTube about talking to my dice, and my dice, like I play my dice, and they have personalities, and they're terrible, and accurate. And yeah, I got to do a little video with my dice girls about the reliquaries, and it was a lot of fun. I got to do like green screen posing, and then put myself on top of the reliquaries, which was the dream. I wish they were large enough for me to actually lounge on the hero throne
Be
because
amazing.
God,
I
how
would
much would
do
that
it.
cost to?
You did a
Totally
great.
stuff.
You did a great job. It was really fun.
oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
It's a lot of fun.
It was awesome. It's like see you lounging around on our mini reliquaries. Yeah. So who won the giveaway?
See Gatrell.
Woo!
You'll remember he actually played
Yay!
an anniversary game.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats. It's
Ooh,
exciting.
what if you made those human-sized and then they could be chairs?
Oh.
That would be
Like
awesome.
Stefano's dragon throne.
I
Uh-huh.
need those 4 eldritch chairs with the tentacles to put around my wormwood gaming table, and then my life will be complete.
There you go. Yeah.
It would probably only take us a year to sculpt one, but we could we can get on that.
I'll start making it right.
Yeah, get on that, Miles.
Get started.
Use the
Get started.
enlarging ray.
Yeah.
We'll just make it happen. All right, let's do two. Let's have a couple quick questions. I will take some audience questions and call it a night. So two final questions for you guys. First one is, I'd love to talk a little bit about artistic resistance and self-doubt, imposter syndrome, whatever the heck, the monkey mind that's chattering away, trying to stop you from doing your best work or performing or whatever. Do you ever face any of that? And what are your tactics to defeat it if you do?
Yeah, for me, I can think of a very specific event that I'd like to recount. This was in the voice acting world. I was booked on an episode of Batman, the Brave and the Bold. And it was original animation. And with anime and video games, they record us one at a time. But when you do original animation, often what they do is they assemble the entire cast and put us in a giant room and record us all at the same time.
Like how many people?
Usually it could be 9 or 10. It's pretty cool.
It's a big crowd.
And in this particular episode that I was working on, so Dietrich Bader was Batman, but some of the other cast was Will Friedle. Sitting directly next to me was Tom Kenny, who's the voice of SpongeBob, and then Kevin Michael Richardson, who has been in a million things. People know him as Cleveland Jr., of course. And I really got nervous, and I said, I'm in a room with all these incredible voice actors. What am I doing here? And then another voice said to me, well, if you're here, if you're in the room, if you got booked on this, then you deserve to be here. So get your shit together and do what you have to do. So I did. So that's my advice for anyone. If you get booked on something and then you're nervous, well, you got booked on it, right? You're there, so you deserve to be there. And that's how I get over imposter syndrome quick.
That's great. Yeah, I actually this came up for me pretty heavily recently when I just released my first original album this year, and that wasn't something I wasn't even sure that I would ever do. I spent a lot of time viewing music as a thing that I did because I liked it, and I was kind of just forcing it on my followers who were here for other reasons. I've definitely thought of it for a long time as yeah, they put up with me making a music video every once in a while. And I've even felt like I have to make these extravagant costumed music videos to make it feel like it belongs amongst my work. I've never really thought of myself as a musician. It was always just I loved music and I wanted to do it, so I just kind of squeezed it in somehow. And when I put together this album, technically an EP, I wrote original songs all inspired by mermaids because I love mermaids. Wrote a bunch of original mermaid songs, and
Love it.
the process of doing it was just so incredibly fulfilling for me in a way that I did not anticipate. And part of me while I was working on it was even if nobody likes it, at least I know that it was a really good time and I really enjoyed making it, and it was a good creative process for me. And then it did so well. It was so well received, and it just blew my mind. It completely I had to reframe the entire way I was thinking about music because I had just been doing this to myself. I had been producing music that people liked, and then I had been telling myself, they don't really like this. There's no way they really like this. They're just tolerating it. And when I actually let myself just make music because that was what I wanted to do, then people were so receptive to it. And I think that happens a lot where I know they say you're your own biggest critic, and it's a cliche thing to say, but often I think that we are so much harder on ourselves than anyone else is ever going to be. And if we can just let up on ourselves for a minute, long enough for us to actually do the thing that we're so scared of doing, I think that we can end up being really surprised by how much kinder everyone is to us than we are to ourselves, basically.
Just don't read the YouTube comments.
Except for the YouTube comments. Never read those.
That's sound advice. So my last one, and we'll turn it over to the chat, is what can we do as a community in gaming? What can we do to help ensure that the game table is open to everyone? To continue to knock down gatekeeping and any of that nonsense that's keeping people from this hobby? Like, what is there any advice on how, as a community, what we can do to keep making progress?
I think that there is a tendency for players who have played the game, and by the game I mean any game that they've played, that have played the game longer, that they tend to. There was a time, I'll relate it to D&D. So there was a time, like I was saying earlier, when D&D was sort of like the game for misfits and, you know, people who didn't get along in regular society, or whatever the people thought that it was for. And then when it became more popular, and so I think that some people found that it was like precious to them, like this is our game, not your game. But I think what they need to understand is that, you know, it's everyone's game, and that the more people that play it and understand it, they're gonna love it the same way that you loved it. And they're just, if it's people that are just learning how to play, like they're discovering it for the first time, remember that joy that you had, you know, when you were first discovering something. And I think that if we do that, it will I think soften some of the gatekeepers, I hope, because I don't think that there's really any call for gatekeeping anywhere. But you know, the more the merrier, I say. But how we can prevent that from happening, I'm not sure. I don't know how you change certain people's minds, but I think that trying to let go of that fear, I suppose, is one way to do it. But I think because so many of the people that I now play D&D with are so open and inclusive to others playing, that you know, I don't encounter people on a daily basis that want to keep others out. So it's harder for me to know exactly what to say, but yeah, that would be my thing, is yeah, be empathetic to others, and try to remember how much joy you had when you were first discovering the game, and realize that that's what they're discovering too.
That's a fun
I
one.
think,
Going back to your joy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ginny.
I also think like there's this question of like, who are you? So your advice, which is fantastic, I think that's like exactly the way to look at it, is like how does D&D make you feel? Well, it probably makes them feel that way too, and like that's something that should be celebrated. And that's like great advice, like for the gatekeepers, you know? But I also think there's an element of the advice too that needs to go to other people in the community that aren't actively gatekeeping, because I think that there's a degree to which like some people are just going to be mad. Like there are some people that are just not going to get over it. They don't want to be empathetic. They don't want to be welcoming. And for whatever reason, those people can't stop us from having an inclusive community. We can't let them stop us, or
It's too late.
Like,
you can't. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And I think that's like the thing that we, the non-gatekeepy folks, can do that I think is the most powerful, is we just need to we need to play, we need to be present, we need to be visible, we need to be like engaging with this hobby and this community in the way that we want to see everything go. And that means that like if somebody is going to go to a game where they don't feel welcome, like they need to have other options for games where they do feel welcome. And that's the kind of thing that we can provide, so that when inevitably some gatekeeper like makes someone feel unwelcome, there's a welcoming committee that's like there to counteract it, you know?
Be waiting
I
with
feel
open arms to catch them when they're like.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I talked over someone, but I don't know who.
Well, you guys are always welcome at our table. Everyone is welcome here at the table at Dwarven Forge. And we have some questions to welcome at the table.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions? I don't know. Does anybody have any questions?
We did have one.
All right.
One question.
But it's a good one. It's buckle up. This is the
I have
hard-hitting
only
one,
one
promise.
question for you, in 37 separate parts.
So, Oh, somebody asked earlier. I don't catch who they said made the set that was in the green set of dice earlier was Yanir.
Yanir.
If you look on,
Yanir.
is their Twitter handle just YANIIR? Did she manage to get?
Yes, I
just
think
her name is
she's
Twitter handle?
Yanir on Twitter. She's
Yeah.
pretty easy to find. If you search Yanir.
If you're looking for those green dice that were in the thing,
She
they were made by
also
Yanir.
did, where's the other
There's
one?
a lot
The
of
portal
handfuls
at the
of
end of time is around here somewhere too. She's so cool. Like her dice are amazing.
I own one Yanir die because I ran into her at a con and she had a bunch of flawed dice that she was giving out. So I have one D10 that has a little bubble in it of her Astral Sea style. And it's like the most beautiful die that I have. But it's just like a single D10.
What
I
blows my
cherish
mind?
it.
She said she was making dice because she didn't want D&D to end. She wanted to do something between sessions to keep channeling the game. So she wanted to create something. And all of the dice are inspired by events or characters in her home game, and she's just like, she's unbelievable. Like she could talk about just creating dice for like hours. It's fascinating. It's so cool. And I told on stream the other day. She made this set. This is the portal at the end of Earth. Can we see on the close up? And it was or the portal at the end of time. And when we got them, the high we were displaying them all in here with the high side up, but the high side is pitch black. And I was like, oh man, I was like, why did you make the high side pitch black when the other side is so beautiful? You know, it's got this amazing, it's not lit well, so you can't see it. There's all these like floating inclusions and all this stuff. And she said, well, I wanted, when people rolled the lowest number, I wanted that to be the beautiful side because like they had the downer of rolling the low number so they could have like this gorgeous, they get this gorgeous vista. When they roll the high number, they could just have it be all pure black because like, yeah, great, you already got your 20, but the other side was like, there's this beautiful discovery waiting for you.
It's like a consolation prize for
Right.
your roll.
You rolled low and you just got, you just failed your saving throw, but look at this beautiful die.
But look at this thing, it's outrageous. It's like, yeah. It's pretty cool. A lot of thought goes into each set. Cool, so did we have a question? Was there a...
Yeah, we had a couple. Let's see. Jeffrey has a question for Ginny. Any chance there'll be more D&D Christmas songs this year? Your All I Want for Christmas one was excellent.
Oh, thank you. I have one that I'm working on now that I think people are gonna hate in like the best Christmassy way. So, I hope that it'll happen. I think they'll hate it the same way that like some people really hate it that I parodied Mariah Carey, which frankly, the ego it takes to parody Mariah Carey. How did I find that? I don't know.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I have a plan this year that I think people will equally hear the opening notes and groan deeply. So, yes.
And you're relishing it already.
On my all request show, just from November to January 1st, I have a slew of Christmas and holiday songs that I add in for people to request, and All I Want for Christmas Is You is one of them. I put it in a more in a more appropriate key for my voice. But yeah, it's
the first Christmas song I play every year.
It's the most successful song of all time.
Whoa, like period, the most successful song?
It's the most successful song of all time. Like it's the most downloaded, it was the most purchased, and it's still the most streamed because for 2 months out of the year, every single year, it gets an incredible amount of streams.
And that's why you make Christmas music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what, do we have any other questions for the...
Yeah, we've got, Yar Morgan has one for both of you, asking if there's a dream collaboration you have in your heart that you want to try and manifest. You want to throw out into the universe to try and make happen.
No pressure. Just your dream collaboration right now.
Yeah.
See,
I
I
feel like
told you
people
hard-hitting
could
questions
probably-
are coming. This is,
Yeah.
I think people can probably guess mine, and it's like I get a lot of comments about it a lot. Like, obviously, I would love to work with Critical Role at some point. Like, they are the thing that got me into D&D in the first place, and I just have like such an emotional connection to the show, and like that would be like wonderful. I don't really talk about how much I would love to collaborate with them much because, like, first of all, I don't want to look like I'm like, hey, work with me. But also, second of all, I feel like people already are like so intense about it and will comment all the time, like, when are we going to see you on Critical Role? And I don't want to get anyone's hopes up or like make them think that something's going to happen because, like, no, nothing's going to happen, or at least not that I'm aware of.
Well, put it out into the universe right now. Matt, you listening?
Yeah, so that's a good thing. I think Ginny and I should collaborate on something.
Jason, I can make your dreams come true.
What? Oh, that'd be great.
I hope she hears this.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
let's
maybe-
see if
hopefully
Ginny's
she'll hear
listening.
Somebody tweet this to Ginny. She'll see it tomorrow during her 15 minutes.
All of a sudden she was like, "What? You're muted. I can't hear you."
Yeah.
Oh god! Oh, I gotta go.
Turbulence.
No, that would be awesome. I think we should.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then everyone heard it here first. We should work on something together.
Done. That Christmas album can finally
Do all I want for Christmas is
We
you, but
should. Yeah.
the
Jason
duet.
sings the high notes.
Yeah.
It is. It's an early Christmas miracle. Says Finlay Shards.
Finley.
Finley's great.
Finley is a very long time viewer. He's like been on every stream ever, I think.
Yeah, has more channel points. We can figure out how to get him to spend. Let's see. Dentrala has an interesting question. It says, I see a big opportunity for custom RPG music playlist creation for specific genres of games. Do you see this as an opportunity, or is background music too hard to get out the door?
So background music or library music is sort of its own category. It's like it's almost composing a score, and certainly companies like Sirenscape have a lot of things to choose from already, and have a lot of different genres to choose from. I would say, like, for me, I don't really consider myself a composer. I consider myself a songwriter, and I can fake sounding like a composer for 1 to 3 minutes. But besides doing about an hour's worth of music for Undeadwood, for the Western that Critical Role did, I tend to work very well in short bursts with songs. I think that I love what some composers are doing with companies like Sirenscape and others to create genre-based stuff. I mean, and in fact, I did. It hasn't been released yet, but for the heavy metal role-playing game Ragnarok, Gods of Metal, I did just write about an hour's worth of music for that with my partner from Rezodrone that I did the Cyberpunk 2077 music with. So I do think that that's something in the future. I guess the main issue is finding a budget to pay for that, because it's a lot of work for people to do. Did that answer the question? I don't know.
I think so.
No, but it was interesting. I don't know if it answered it.
Yeah, I think the thing that has always stressed me out a little bit about even the thought of making like ambient music, basically, which is not, I mean, I don't even do my own instrumental tracks. I have one of my best friends from college, Blake, does all of my audio mixing and mastering and all of my instrumentals, and he's a genius, and I think he should make D&D soundtracks. But one of the things that I've always thought about when I like think about the process of that is like when I'm in combat with my groups, it's like 2 hours. So like you need music that is going to be on theme and match what you're doing, but also not going to get repetitive 2 hours later. And yeah, like what you're saying, Jason, about the budget necessary to do that, when you can just hop on Spotify and just play the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, like I think it's like it would be a very challenging space to succeed in financially, considering how difficult it would be to craft enough music to fill that need, but also like to compete with like free existing music resources that are already out there. I love ambient D&D music, though. I love other people's playlists that they've put together for it. I like collect them on my own Spotify. I collect other people's ambient D&D playlists. I think that it's like it's something I'm really into. I just like wish that I felt like it was going to be a really.
Can you share some playlists?
Oh, sure. So I'll tell you my absolute favorite source. I wish I like knew who this guy was. I don't know if he's like I don't know if he like does stuff in the tabletop realm, or if he's just like some dude who like has a game. And just like made these for himself, but let me find him really quick. I have a ton of his playlists saved. Maybe you guys will recognize his name and I'll sound really stupid. Like maybe he's
No, you'll sound like we're running in the same circles. Yeah, I don't know anybody's name. So.
Michael Gelfi.
Rav Bunny wants 10 hours of ambient gelatinous cube music.
This gelatinous cube music, like a water level soundtrack.
Okay, I found it. His name is Brian Davis, and on Spotify, he has built all of these compilations. Like, he has a whole folder called Mood, and in it, he has Mood Triumphant, Mood Tense, Mood Somber, Mood Serious, Mood Ridiculous, Mood Pleasant, Mood Ominous, Mood Mysterious, Mood Joyful. It keeps going.
Mood Ridiculous.
And all of them
great.
have like custom like cover photos on them for each mood, and there's 11 mood playlists, there's 9 different kinds of monster playlists, there's 6 combat playlists, 6 ambient, and 12 atmosphere. He just he has gone all out on this.
What
and
is
they're
his
amazing.
name? Brian Davis?
Yeah.
Brian Davis. Yeah, and if you look him up on Spotify, just like look
Put
for
him
a
in the
user.
chat.
Apparently Topulus uses this stuff
right
too.
now.
He's just like I mean, he's like, honestly, in his profile picture, he's like pretty good looking, like gingery looking guy, and he just like makes a ton of D&D playlists, and I love him.
Topulus put his profile in chat. I guess Topulus also uses his stuff a lot.
Yeah.
So good. I don't know like why he did all this for us, Brian Davis. Thank you for all of the work you've done for other D&D players in the world.
Brian Davis, we salute you out there.
Yeah.
Oh, is this? He has 126 public playlists. Is this what we're looking at?
That's it?
He's
That's
Yeah.
I hope it's his job because wow.
Nice. Ambient Tavern,
Let's
Ambient
see.
Forest.
Speaking of
Sweet.
Topulus, next question is from Topulus. I'm actually combining it with Jeffrey's as well because they're pretty similar. Topulus is wondering if you have a favorite character from Campaign 3 of Critical Role, and Jeffrey's wondering if there's anybody in particular from Campaign 3 you want to cosplay.
Oh man. Okay, so I feel like everybody really wants me to cosplay Laudna, but my best friend is cosplaying
Imogen.
Laudna.
Yeah.
And I love Imogen. I think character-wise, probably character-wise, I would say probably Laudna is my favorite this season so far, just because she has such a unique vibe. Like the fact that she's like a creepy aunt, but like in a nice, friendly way. Like she wants to be your friend, but she's creepy. I just love that. But I think that my most likely cosplay project from Campaign 3 at this point is probably Fern, just because Fern is like my visual aesthetic to a T. Like I actually was looking back through some of my old character designs from high school, and a lot of them look like Fern. Like my own D&D character has mint green hair with a bunch of flowers in it. So that's my vibe.
I think
Right in your head.
I think Fern is my favorite Campaign 3 character, even though it kind of feels like cheating because she was my favorite in XU. But I don't know, letting Ashley play like that kind of, she's so good at playing like just completely not understanding anything, and she has just so many like phenomenal one-liners that she delivers like completely straight. It's unreal how good. It's by far my favorite Ashley character. Fern's great.
As
She's
a
like
one-liner
such a-
deliverer.
Yeah.
She actually has such a unique role-playing style, and I actually feel like Yasha kind of didn't let her showcase her strengths as much as I think Fern does. I'm definitely watching these episodes with Fern and being like, oh yeah, this is like peak Ashley content, and I'm really enjoying it.
It's like she's so ridiculously flexible, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I could go on for a long time
Well,
about it.
let's
but
take
Fern's
one more question and then call it an
more.
episode.
Let's see.
What we got?
Wait, we don't know which Campaign 3 character Jason's gonna cosplay.
Yeah, Jason.
Oh, freshly cut grass for sure.
God, I wish you would do that. That'd be so good.
You'd have to shave.
No, I'll just get inside. I'll make a whole thing and get
Yes,
inside.
fabricated
I mean,
thing.
look, everybody knows I'm an expert cosplayer. I mean, I'm above all the other things I listed, everybody knows I cosplay all the time.
You didn't have to mention it because we all already knew.
Right, exactly. You went without saying. I'm the cosplay expert.
It's the headline on the internet. It's like,
You'd have to do a song blowing into the gas can as a jug.
Right.
all right, one last
question. Is there a good one for everybody? The two
Are we
that I
done?
have are for the two that I have are
let's call
for
it
one
a-
each.
So the one piece of Wildlands news we have was that did we say it already? The container landed yesterday. It'll probably hit the warehouse next week, and then it's going to take them about a week to receive everything. They have to like inventory a whole container's worth of stuff,
Yeah.
get into their system or whatever. So, and then shipping, the first round of stuff begins then.
Yeah. So if you backed Wildlands,
So Christmas comes early or late or whatever.
Well, if you go back to Wildlands,
Depending on,
yeah,
whatever.
you're probably gonna get some Wildlands stuff before
Yeah.
Christmas if you backed Forest stuff.
Yes.
Should be there in time.
I bet it'll start shipping right after Thanksgiving.
So that's
my hope.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Do we have any other outro news?
I don't think so. We're doing a Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, we're
I think
doing
that's
Reliquaries
kinda
right now.
consuming.
Come check it out. We could use your support. It's these cool handcrafted dice thrones. You can buy just ability trackers to track your player abilities. You can buy a whole array. You can buy all the sculpts. We have just dice. If you want to buy some Die Hard dice, it's really cool. They have 5 different custom sets, one for each theme. We got a whole bunch of fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're meant to
We
be
got
nice displays. I don't know.
Ruby red dwarven dice.
Our sculptors and painters like just really went all out with all these things. They're very
As opposed to all the other times we phone it in,
Yeah, we usually
Yeah.
slack off when we make this stuff. But
Just
yeah.
got the artificer set in.
Yeah.
Um,
So we just got that in.
the thing is, what if people want to follow you guys, Ginny and Jason?
Yeah.
Where can they track you down on the internet?
Well, first of all, we're all on Twitch right now, so let me give you my Twitch channel right here with my Roadhouse emote. There we go. So give me a follow. I'm actually going to be streaming in just a few minutes. I do a show called Whatever You Want Wednesdays, and I have a list of over 200 songs that I play. A lot of stuff from Bardic Inspiration, covers a lot of original stuff, and we just have a good time. And I'm actually going to go up early tonight because I need to change the strings on one of my guitars. So I'll be changing the strings on this bad boy, and you can just AMA, ask me anything, and then once the strings are stretched, I'll start the request show.
That's awesome.
But other than that, you can find me, Jason Charles Miller, on Instagram, Facebook, on Twitter. I'm Jason C. Miller. And then jasoncharlesmiller.com is my website, and that will link you to all the other things I'm doing. One thing that is happening, though, if we have any UK viewers, in just a few weeks, I'm going to be performing in the UK. I have 8 shows. I have 5 shows in England and 3 shows in Scotland, December 4th through the 11th. So be sure to go to my website and check out where I'm going to be playing.
Cool. We got Finley Shards is from there, Rabbit Burners from there. We definitely have some. We have some folks.
Great. Yeah, please come say hi. It's an acoustic tour, so it will be a little looser. If you want to request Gelatinous Cube, I'll play it. To a bunch of confused people, probably, but that's okay. We'll be in on the joke together.
There's gonna be crickets. Like, one person like, woo! Finley Shards is just gonna be like, here.
I'll be like, hey, here's a song about, I don't know. Here's a song about displacer beasts, everybody. And people would be like, okay. All right. But we've got them.
So good. And what about you, Ginny? Where can people find you?
Pretty much everywhere. You can just search my name, Ginny D. I'm the only one. The only Ginny D. My handle is usually It's Ginny D because a very old woman has my Twitter handle. She might have died. At Ginny D on Twitter belongs to a woman who definitely does have an obituary in the paper. I Googled it, and she's only followed by her pastor. So I think there's a chance that I will never have that Twitter account. But obviously that's less of a tragedy than poor other Ginny D's actual death. Anyway, that was the point is you can find me under Ginny D on the internet. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I have a website. I have a Patreon. I do all kinds of things until I, too, am dead with a Twitter account.
But then the new Ginny D will try and get it and be like...
And then she'll be like, Ginny D and It's Ginny D are both taken.
Now what?
Right.
Ginny D live. That's why Dwarven Forge. All right. Well, we're in our socials on the bottom. Dwarven Forge everywhere. Come check out Reliquaries. We will be back tomorrow night. Andrew will be hosting a Touchdowns in Tabletop. We have 2 sports ball players.
The name got
joining.
changed during the stream.
They what?
Yeah, that's what it's called now. Yes.
Yeah. I just learned there's a team called the Texans.
The Houston Texans.
Yeah.
The Texas Texans. Yeah, that's it.
I'm
Even
learning a
though
lot about
He didn't
sports
believe.
ball
I told him
teams.
this morning he didn't believe me that was an actual football team.
Yeah, I
You
still
believed
don't,
me
yeah.
about the Washington football team, but you didn't believe
Because
me
I'd
about
heard
the
about
Houston
that.
Texans.
But anyway. All right. Anyway, and then we'll be back on Friday. What are we doing? What's on Friday night?
Friday night is cinematic storytelling with Sam Gorski from Corridor Digital and Will Campos and Kyle Newman. Yeah.
And then Saturday's Sculptors Roundtable. And then Sunday night is the Dwarven Forge 25th anniversary retrospective with Stefan Picorni, founder of the Forge, will be online. And that could get wild. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Since I interrupted, we didn't really say the two football players who are on stream
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow night are Johnny Stanton and Travis Frederick. Johnny Stanton, current fullback for the Browns. Travis Frederick, who I think was either a Texan or a Cowboy. I think he was a
I
Cowboy.
think he was a cowboy.
He was a cowboy.
I did a stream with him.
That's
Super-
who I was
super
going to
nice guy.
cosplay as. But I
Cowboy?
didn't think anybody would know.
You would have to.
I don't know.
You would have to. Man, you'd have to bulk up so much.
I
You
feel
have to
like
get a
football
huge beard.
players and cosplayers / geeks have like way more, or football fans and cosplayers have way more in common than anyone's willing to admit.
They do. The things and that.
You wear the themed clothes, you paint your face,
You know, it's
How
a whole
about
thing.
fantasy football players like that that are fantasy football? Yeah, people that play fantasy football.
Yeah.
All the numbers that they run, that's just like D&D, guys. Come on. See, we're bringing the worlds together.
We're so cool.
We're all the same.
We'll find out about it tomorrow night. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you soon. Good night. Good night.
Bye, everybody.